We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast. This is Abe, your host, and I lied to you all. I lied. Yes, I went in today, went in early, did a 9 to 5. I told you all I wouldn't be doing probably wouldn't be doing as much podcast because looks like for the next 3 weeks I'm going to be doing overtime because we got 2 people out for basically physical issues. So yeah, but this is the 3rd podcast I put out in 2 days, so that's not too bad. I feel like I told my wife tonight while I was on break, I said I feel like I get little spurts of energy to do podcast. This is one that I've been planning for a couple weeks now. I drew up the cover art if you're tuning in on YouTube or YouTube. I always draw up the cover art for my next upcoming episodes, unless it's off the cuff. But this one you're going to enjoy. It ties in with multiple other episodes that I've covered. So you're going to want to check out those other episodes. If you're tuning in on YouTube, during the credits, you'll be able to click on those other episodes. I covered Conplan 8888. I covered Event 201. And I covered, hang on, I'm trying to think of the other one. It might just be those 2. But they basically all these things are pointing to the Lockstep, Operation Lockstep. Yeah, all 3 of those things connect with this thing, and it's insane. Anyone that sees what's going on in the world today, like, it's undeniable. It is undeniable that this was not planned. And they've been planning it for years. It's just insane. Basically, what we're going to be covering today is Dark Winter. Now, I first came across the phrase Dark Winter with Joe Biden. And he kept saying, Dark winter, it's going to be a dark winter, it's going to be a dark winter during the presidential debates, which I covered those 2 on a previous episode. You can check it out if you want. You can check out, my opinion of it. And Trump kept saying, it doesn't have to be a dark winter. It doesn't have to be. I don't know why you keep saying it's dark winter. And there's a reason. It was a code word for something. And all the other truther channels, all the other conspiracy channels were like, oh, dude, you got to check out Operation Dark Winter. You got to check out Operation Dark Winter. I just hadn't got the time to do it, I don't know what I was doing at the time. Probably, honestly, I think at the time, during that time period, I was working. I didn't have internet because I was staying with someone else. And I was just working overtime like every week trying to save up money to get an apartment, So I just didn't have the time to check it out. And now that I got my own house and stuff, I'm finally getting into it. So I'm pretty excited because I'm actually learning with you guys. I found an article that pretty much lays out all of Dark Winter. So yes, I will be reading an article, but I will be commenting on it, like a lot of other podcast channels do. There's Horace, the co-host. That's my cat. Um, but yeah, that's what we're going to be covering today. And like I said, all these exercises and operations, they're all saying the exact same thing. When it comes to Event 201, Conplan 8888, it all ties together. Dark Winter. It's just Lockstep. It's getting crazy. This is the oldest one. This one's in 2001. Lockstep, I think, was 2010. So that shows you how far back this stuff was planned. And I have put out a couple just fun episodes here and there, but figured I'd put out a heavy hitter. I try to give you guys a break from heavy hitter dark stuff, but it seems to be the biggest hits is heavy hitter stuff. But I try to give you guys a good variety of everything. But we'll check out this article and we'll get on with the show. All right, guys. So we're getting into Operation Dark Winter. Sometimes our worst fears are often chalked up to personal hysteria. There are times, however, when our dread is based off the horrible possibility of a very real event. The latter is the foundation of Operation Dark Winter, a senior level government exercise from June 2001 that simulated a bioterrorism attack in the United States using smallpox as its agent of choice. Now, just honestly, you could switch that with SARS if you choose. Designed and controlled by key members of Johns Hopkins University and a company known as Analytics Services, Operation Dark Winter, ODW for short, we'll just call it Dark Winter, focused on evaluating the nation's capabilities to respond to a massive outbreak attack on a major American city, namely Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Okay. From there, the simulation scenario only grows worse, looking to test America's resiliency to stand up to coordinated attack by international terrorists. The results of Dark Winter efforts revealed a stunning reality that many Americans aren't aware of. We as a nation are drastically ill prepared for such an attack, or a plandemic. Problems range from a lack of sufficient training, insufficient amounts of vaccine or drugs, or the ability to stop the spread of a potential pandemic in communities. Dark Winter revealed many gaps in the nation's preparedness levels, enveloping a bioterrorism attack. With advances in healthcare and government-sponsored preparedness efforts, America should be able to stand against such an attack, right? To best answer that question, we've assembled a guest panel of experts. Colonel Randall Larson, United States Air Force, retired, one of chief architects of Dark Winter, will be joined by combat psychologist Neil H. Olshan, Ph.D., and Dave Jones, Army Chemical Officer, retired, who has the background in nuclear, chemical, biological warfare. Here we delve deeper into current state of affairs with the nation's healthcare system to determine if we're better prepared now than we were when the study was originally conducted, or if the healthcare infrastructure has continued to deteriorate. Panel discussion. Recoil off-grid. Let's see. What was the intention of Operation Dark Winter? And how Would that intention look different now if it were to conduct it again? Randall Larson's reply was, "We wanted to look at the United States and how well they were prepared in case of terrorist organization in the case of Al-Qaeda, which this was 2001. And we know that Al-Qaeda was basically set up by the United States government. Like, Bin Laden was a CIA, like, you get it. Like, we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. Would launch a biological attack on several U.S. cities. In this particular event, we chose to use smallpox, but you can replace that with beer bug, which is very contagious and kills about 1/3 of the people it infects. We looked at a lot of different issues for Dark Winter. It made us ask, are we prepared? How would we respond? And if we only had a limited supply of vaccine, who gets the vaccine?" About 9 days after September 11th, inside job, we were asked to give a briefing to the White House to examine if Al-Qaeda, the people who just attacked the world. No, we ain't getting into that fucking shit. Alright. Well, I guess I'll read it, but you guys are smart enough to pick it apart. So basically, Al-Qaeda did 9/11. We know they didn't. And the Pentagon would be capable of a biological attack. At the time, we didn't know that Al-Qaeda had developed anthrax labs in Afghanistan and Malaysia. Now, this is something that I'm 50-50 on. A lot of people think that anthrax was just a hoax. But I don't know. I've never actually went down that rabbit hole. So if you're watching on YouTube, like, hit me up in the comments, because I ain't gonna lie, like, I don't know much about anthrax. I mean, I remember the big scare when my mom, because she was a big Fox News watcher, they were like Republican Christians, very far right people. Believe the news and all that jazz. So I don't know if it was like a legit thing that was going on, or if it was just like a hoax, They just didn't get it finished in time. Let's see. Sorry. Like I said, y'all are learning with me. Biological attack. At the time, we didn't know if Al-Qaeda had developed anthrax labs in Afghanistan and Malaysia, and the CIA clearly believed that they wanted an anthrax attack in the United States at the same time as the airplane attacks. They just didn't get it finished in time. It was several years later, in unclassified sources, that Al-Qaeda's anthrax laboratory in Malaysia was found to be much closer to success in being operational for that attack, so the possibility of delivering a bioterrorism attack is still very much alive today. So, basically scaring the people. Dave Jones responds, "We knew our butts were hanging out, and that's why this tabletop exercise was conducted. As the memory of 9/11 fades in our collective consciousness," by the way, that's never faded away, man. I ain't never forgot that inside job. "So does the perception of a threat. If there was an actual terrorist attack, they would not release it in one populated city. They would release it in as many as they could. We found out that once that happened, our stockpile would immediately be wiped out after an attack. Well, there's plenty of jabs left over because no one wants to take your mRNA genetic modification drug. The actual number is classified, as is the location, depending on where you read. We have between 12 to 20 million vax stockpiled, which is enough to inoculate for one outbreak." By the way, I can read. I just try not to say that word because I've already been canceled off YouTube once. "There's no good way to alert the public, even medical facilities, that an attack has happened. If you play the scenario out, some people will go to the hospital, many will not. The only way we'd know if something was wrong is the case of a hospital divert. where a hospital cannot take any more patients, and they notify their county health department, who then notifies the state and federal governments. This isn't necessarily a good alert system for the hospitals, because once the alert system is activated, the incident has already happened. The hospital is contaminated, and the people have spread the infection. Neil Olshan says, one difference is the internet. You have to add the variable of people going to the internet for information, which may not be valid. So they were saying fake news all the way back then. But in reverse, we know what actual fake news is. The propaganda you shove down our gullets. If there were to happen, there would be more people who could die from a fear pandemic, quote unquote. Wow, we could die from a fear pandemic than the bioterrorist attack itself. Are you kidding me? Oh, the attack. So they were already like planting the seed for jab-o-jab, you know? The attack is only the first stage, but the fear pandemic that would follow could kill more. One of the things that happens when your heart rate goes up is that it takes over your primitive part of your brain, which is the fight or flight survival instinct that we've got in those situations once your heart begins beating. No, you know what gives me the fight or flight? Survival instinct makes it kick in is people knocking on my door asking if I've got, the wizard potion. That's what makes me scared is doctors and Kill Bates and Dr. Fauci ouchie. That's what scares me. Let's see. At 140 BPM, you begin to lose 33, notice that number there, 33% your peripheral vision. When it goes up to 150 BPM, you lose your fine motor control. But when you get up to 160 BPM, you can't use logic. It shifts you into a primitive part of your brain and it becomes very instinctual. Decision making goes right out the door. This is what you are seeing during mob mentality. When it comes to things like bioterrorism, I believe that is one of the things that hasn't been looked at. So the psychology of it. If something like Dark Winter would happen, people could very well resort to this frame of mind and lock themselves and their families in their home in isolation. You should do that because the government is terrifying. Sorry. All of this shifts us into survival mode, even to the point of violence. If an attack would happen, there will be groups of people who believe that other social groups shouldn't receive any wizard potion or treatment after an attack, or that they themselves should get it first. No one's rushing out. I'm sorry, but I've looked at the statistics. We're literally 50-50 in the U.S. I know I have a lot of UK listeners. Yeah, we're like 50-50 in the U.S. So, yeah, no one wants this shit here. They're actually ending up wasting a lot of it. They're on their last leg. Let's see. So, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. That's propaganda. We'll skip over that section. RL. Let's see. What's the question? Did you see any potential flaws with the exercise? RL responds, one of the criticisms that others have written about, and I don't think has great credibility, is that we used what is called the R naught. In epidemiology terms, it relates to how many people would an infected person make sick. We use an R naught of 3, which means that one infected person would infect 3 people. Some people said that that was too high. I just don't think that it was. It was also certainly irrelevant. Our whole purpose was to see if the U.S. was prepared to handle something like this, and if not, what could be done to improve that. Now, the only people that are going to get infected is people who are getting infected by pointy proteins by people who are consuming Kill Bates is his wizard potion. You catch my drift? We didn't want to sensationalize this. During the exercise, only a couple of thousand died during the simulation. But as we saw during the Ebola incident in 2015, with only 5 cases in the U.S., how crazy things got. You can imagine how crazy it would be if 2,000 would die in a insert virus here attack. Even with 2/3 of people who'd survive smallpox, there would be horrible disfigurement, and a good percentage would be left blind. It would be a frightful thing. And you figure that a thinking enemy, if they're attacking us with a pathogen, they are probably going to be putting out a lot of disinformation through social media and making our response much more difficult. It's a great concern in terms of how we deal with it. So, once again, they're pushing that anyone who is concerned, these are all fucking government people too, sick dogs. Anyone who's concerned with taking, the wizard potion and just saying something about it, we already see it now. They're censoring them because they call it misinformation. Let's see, DJ says also, the exercise was very good and thorough. They came out with a great list of findings and a great to-do list. The follow-up, however, was not ideal. Priorities change and funding gets diverted. There are a lot of ICUs in this country, but not many isolation units. Take the 2015 Ebola cases in the U.S. Nurses and doctors receive training in it, but if they don't work in it, the training goes by the wayside. It's very hard to keep the level of proficiency up. Ebola was a very small microcosm of what would happen with entervirus here. A normal outbreak is one thing, but a deliberate attack is a whole other level. But a normal outbreak, we'd be able to handle it well, quote unquote. If there were a deliberate attack, I don't know, like the government, releasing a non-isolated beer bug, I think it's the wizard potion that's going to be the actual, V word. I don't see how it can be handled well at all. NO, whoever that is. I listed them off earlier. If you look at the major participants of Dark Winter program, I did not see any doctors or psychologists. I think that it is an inherent flaw that you don't have a frontline people in the tier list of decision makers, especially in the role of mental health. If someone wanted to destroy the United States, all they would have to do is release a couple of infestations of disease, and the fear pandemic would take over and do the rest. Exactly, the fear pandemic would. I think that the worst fear is fear of the unknown. Exactly. If you fear an invasion of another country in your mind, you can deal with it because you can picture it. The same can be true even in a nuclear attack. But with bioterrorism, the invisible enemy, the fear pandemic from an unseen disease will be much, much worse. Mental health professionals would play an enormous role in our response to an attack. Do you think that the healthcare system has improved since the initial study? RL responds, when I was the executive director of WMD Commission, we did a report card that examined how the United States in January 2010 is prepared to handle a mushroom cloud over an American city or respond to a bioterrorism attack. The grade that was given from the Commission on our preparedness to respond to a pandemic was an F. There is now a bipartisan panel called the Blue Ribbon Panel on Biodefense and is co-chaired by Tom Ridge, former Secretary of Homeland Security. I ain't gonna lie, I don't know much about that dude. And Senator Joe Lieberman. So literally his name is Lie Berman. Yeah, if you guys know anything about those two dudes, let me know in the comments if you're on YouTube. Their recent report concluded that preparedness efforts have improved very little, if any, at all. One of the reasons that we haven't seen a lot of improvement according to Senator Richard Burr of North Carolina, who is chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, is that about only 5 members of the 535 members of the United States Congress really understood the biological threat. And this is one of the problems. The members of the Congress really understood how serious the threat was, which it ain't, because you're just trying to fearmonger because you have 2019, 2020, 2021 planned already. Let's be straight up. There would be a lot more done, but they don't, and there's no real lobbying effort for it to be done. Unfortunately, there is no public health industrial complex that pushes Congress to spend a lot of money on this and to get us prepared. Prepared for what? Something that you guys planned and you already know is coming? NO responds, I do not see it doing any better. I actually think that it is the potential of being much worse. I also think that disaster information is often ignored because we haven't found a good solution to dispensing it. The solution, in my opinion, is that we have to take a look at the basic structure of how we alert people that an outbreak has occurred. When you're dealing with the basic mistrust of government agencies, I wonder why, and you add the internet, you feel a perfect storm of misinformation and distrust. The internet may actually be the demon in all of this. I told you guys, man, they're going to shut down the internet soon. And you have internet-based organizations that may have certain agendas. That's why I believe that in a few days after the attack, the government may have to shut down the internet or limit internet information that comes directly from them to help mitigate the spread of misinformation. Dude, this is in 2010 was the last date that one of those motherfuckers quoted, so 2010 they were already planning this a decade ago. When you read about the Black Death Plague, the fear that was generated due to the combination of bad information and atmosphere of fear actually caused people to murder others and burn down homes with people in them. Yeah, I could see that coming. I mean, have you all seen that new show, Sweet Tooth? Kitty, get out of the sink. Sorry, pardon. They thought those families might be infected with the plague, and they might not actually have had it. We haven't grown much since then. Yeah, I know. The masked versus the unmasked. It adds a whole new component to the fear pandemic that hasn't really been thoroughly studied. If you could implement a series of changes to improve the healthcare system to prepare for a pandemic, what would they be? RL responds, what we need in this country to be better prepared to respond to a pandemic, whether natural or man-made, are 3 things. Rapid diagnostic capability. This is critically important. As with any disease, the sooner it's diagnosed, the better the prognosis. Whether you're talking about lung cancer or bioterrorism, if we can't figure out what the disease is, and quickly, a lot of people will get sick and possibly die. So what they did is they unfolded the PCR test, which literally the creator of the PCR test has said it's not even made for testing for the beer bug, and that it can be altered by spreading the range. You can widen the range, and you can literally find anything that you're looking for just by widening the range. So, yeah, that basically just said PCR right there. Better medical countermeasures is the next thing. Vaccines and therapeutics. You can erase the therapeutics because, hydroxychloroquine has been thrown out the window. It's pseudoscience now. This needs to be one of the highest priorities of the country, much like the scale of Manhattan Project. We need that level of attention. The government needs to work with industry to come up with medical countermeasures and therapeutics much faster and much more affordably than we do right now for bioterrorism attack or pandemic. Better surge capacity in our hospitals. If you went to any hospital during this year's flu season, you could see how overwhelmed they were. This year's flu season was worse than normal, and we saw flu tents in the parking lots of California hospitals. Now, I'll believe that. I believe that the flu could probably get bad, but in 2021, they're just renaming it as something else. The flu disappeared. You can look that up. No flu. The flu vanished. Amazing. Let's see. But it was nowhere near catastrophic levels. Imagine how we'd be today if it was the winter of 1918, where we saw thousands of Americans die from the Spanish flu pandemic. More soldiers died from influenza than they did in World War I. We need to do better in hospital surge capacity because they are just not at the level to handle the capacity of patients. There are good investments in public health, national security, the safety of our citizens, and so there are great dual benefits, whether you are talking about bioterrorism or natural occurring pandemic. JD says each hospital and healthcare facility need to have a surge capacity force with a plan to handle a large-scale incident and exercise the plan to ensure they are ready for the surge of people. They also need a 3-day supply of equipment and a realistic refill plan. Yeah, give them that double jabbo. And think outside the box to secure the needed equipment whenever they can. NO says, I think that it's going to have to come from the top. Oh, it's already coming from the top of the pyramid. And it's going to take certain people in the government to not feel that they have their name on something. Well, let's see. Kill Gates, he's not a part of the government, so he put his name on something. And go through committee meeting after committee meeting, someone will need to say this needs to be done. Well, as far as Kill Bates says, is we don't have a choice whether we take his secret barbecue recipe or not, you know. As far as the average citizen is concerned, what do you think we can do to bolster our preparation for an event that could overwhelm our healthcare infrastructure? Overwhelm? Weren't they all dancing, you know, making TikTok videos? They didn't seem very overwhelmed. I thought I remembered seeing a video of a beer bug patient who was in a body bag. He was supposed to be dead, but he was taking a smoke break. Maybe Jesus came back. Maybe the dead are rising again. That'd be cool. RL responds, the preparation that we do beforehand is key to surviving a pandemic, especially when it comes to having a supply of important medications. The most important thing to be prepared for any type of natural disaster or man-made disaster is to have enough prescription medications. Like I said before, I'm not going to keep repeating myself. We have so many in the U.S. they're going to waste. So Mr. Joe Biden's already talking about sending it to poorer countries, you know. Kill off the poor. I also think that it's good to have a transportation plan. How do you plan to get out of your community if several roads are closed? If your kids are in school and your wife works on the north side of town and you work on the south side of town, how do you plan to meet and evacuate your town? Well, first of all, the thing that I'm going to do like exactly how I did when this beer bug hit, I'm just going to chill the fuck out and act like nothing's going on. The entire world freaked the fuck out. And literally me and my wife were walking around and everyone's wearing masks and we're like, did we miss something? Because we didn't have internet. We didn't have TV. We just literally were like, we went into the grocery store and everything was gone. I'm like, what's going on, dude? I still didn't wear a mask. I was like, for the longest time until they mandated it, you know, I was just like, is this real or fake? I don't fucking get it, man. Because all I had at the time was like videos from China of people dying, and for some reason no one wants to talk about that. Like, were those things real? Were those things fake? I don't know. I mean, I don't think any of this is real because they've never isolated the virus. Do you have a good communications plan? One of the things that we noticed on September 11th is that all of the cell phones stopped working because everyone was trying to use them. How would you get in touch with your family if your cell phone service was down? It's a good idea to sit down with your family to discuss how you would get a hold of one another during a disaster. Honestly, I would just drive straight home because I know where my wife is and I know where she works. And we literally live right behind her work. I could throw a rock out my front door and hit where she works. So, yeah, I would already know where to go. DJ says, in this type of scenario, isolation is going to be the answer for the average person. So there you go. Isolate yourself. And they were saying this back then. Isolate yourself. If they can pull off 2 to 12 weeks of isolation, it would do them well. So damn, they didn't even say, well, no, 2 weeks to flatten the curve, but 12 weeks. So they were being nicer. We're on week what of 2 weeks to flatten the curve? Like year and a half, 2 years now. You could start with 3 or 4 days and build from there. I'm sorry, but if I got a virus and I don't even know that I have the virus, like most of these carriers of the beer bug, like I'm not isolating myself. I don't even isolate myself when I have pneumonia. I've had pneumonia like 4 times. I've never fucking isolated myself. And that shit almost killed my ass, dude. Do you want to have just enough to hold you over, or do you want to survive? If you're depending on the government during a massive pandemic, your plan might be lacking. Hope is not a strategy. You may be on your own. N.O. says, I think that one of the things that's imperative, I think that one of the things that's imperative is that people have a plan and one that involves their family and wherever they're at. No matter if it's a natural disaster or bioterrorism attack. One of the first things that people can do is address their basic survival concerns, food, water, and shelter. And as a part of that, if you're including a family, you've got to have a family plan. We've already been stocking food. I've already told you guys on my old channel, I've been telling you guys on my new channel, I've been telling you guys for a whole year now. Stock fucking food, dude. Stock fucking food. I don't care if this channel bores you. All I'm trying to do is save your fucking lives. Like, stock food and make sure when the zombies come, and I don't mean that literally, make sure you're armed to protect that food supply. All these other channels are saying, get silver and gold, get silver and gold. What the fuck? You can't eat silver and gold, motherfucker. Make sure you got food and water, dude, and shit that doesn't spoil. Canned food, soups, vegetables, Spam. I know it sucks, but it's a poor man's steak, Don't be stocking your freezer because they're already talking about, I already did an episode on, what was it? Klaus Schwab and at World Economic Forum. I can't remember the last. It was a couple episodes back, man. Check it out. But they're talking about internet shutdown and power outages and basically EMF blast, So all your shit in the freezer is just going to go bad in like 2 days. So all these people that are like, oh, I got meat for like years. Dude, the power is probably going to go out too, bro. Hate to burst your little bubble. Let's see. Alright, about Operation Dark Winter. Insert virus here is one of the deadliest diseases known to man, so they're using smallpox. We can skip over that. Let's see the conclusion and we'll wrap it up. The conclusion is, the goal of terrorism is to exploit areas of vulnerability. Operation Dark Winter serves as a stark reminder that our nation will always be under attack. See how they say that? But if bioterrorism agents, explosive or mass shootings, which, we already know about the shootings. Come on, dude. That's bogus banner. That's bogus banner. French fries. It also serves as a wake-up call to those who are charged with protecting the homeland and its citizens. You guys don't want to protect us. You guys want to make us try out Kill Bates's barbecue recipe. I don't want barbecue. I like barbecue, but I don't want his barbecue. His has got gene altering. It's going to make me non-human. The question is, in the absence of improved healthcare infrastructure, how can you better prepare yourself for an incident of this nature? Check out our piece, Outbreaking News, and blah, blah, blah. I'm not giving you. There you have it. That is Dark Winter. This shit has been planned for a while. Apparently there was a Dark Winter exercise in 2001. That one was like a later one, but you're welcome to dig in more. Hit me up in the comments. I can't say this enough. Please subscribe to my new YouTube channel because I feel discouraged, man. Apparently, though, I'm getting a lot of views on YouTube, but I don't know how to check if I even have subscribers, if they even have that option, because I don't know. I like to talk to you guys, so hit me up in the YouTube comments. Subscribe to the YouTube channel because my old channel it didn't get canceled. I got too many strikes. I couldn't post on there anymore, so it's a dead channel. It's Conspiracy Corner Podcast. The profile picture is literally a white rabbit with a samurai sword. If you want to support us in any way, we do not have a tip jar set up. We're thinking about doing it. You can listen to us on audio form only, and I do have a sponsor. It's Anchor, so I get paid like a penny an episode. We made it past $5. We're like $5.11, and I've been doing this channel for 4 years, and I got paid $5. Woo! But you can do that. You can check us out on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Radio Public, and Breaker. We're on YouTube, we're on BitChute, and we're on YouTube. That is all she wrote. I hope you all have a good day, and I'm out.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.